Hi everybody, it's Tom Allsopp. I am live. If you are joining me, then thank you very much, and I hope you've had a lovely month. Feels like it's been a long month, but also at the same time, like all time, it feels like it's absolutely thrashed by. So yeah. Anyway, I hope you're well, and I hope you're enjoying yourselves. And yeah, so I thought we'd get together and have a little drinky. Hope you've got a little drinky. Here's mine. And I'm gonna read you a couple of poems and just talk about them a little bit and just say hey and yeah. Um, the advantages of doing this live are twofold for me. One, it's a nice outlet to be able to get my poetry out there and to say hi to you lovely people. But also, I'm technically playing online poker at the moment. But because I'm not actually at the table, I'm not losing any money. I'm just I'm not losing any faster than I normally do. So the longer I don't play, the better my prospects are. So everyone's a winner. If you're watching live and you're able to, if you want to say hi in the live chat, then please do. I always like to hear from people and see what they're up to if you're having a little drinky. So let's well, what a month it's been. It's hard to process really what's gone on. Really, we've gone from will we ever be out of lockdown to like whoa, I'm not really ready to be out of lockdown. And that's a very strange situation to find yourself in, isn't it? I'm not really. I don't know how to. I'm not sure if I'm ready to process it yet. I'm a bit institutionalized. I feel like what's his name in Shawshank Redemption, the old guy. I just feel like I'm like I'm not ready to. I'm not ready. But it is what it is, isn't it? We're all. It's time to go back to whatever we used to be like. Normal, is that a thing? I don't know. Anywho, so this month I've written something brand new, and I owe you a poem from last time, because I started it and then realised I hadn't finished typing it up. So I've written a brand new poem, and I've also typed up one of the ones that I was doing before. Oh, Paul's got his beer. Excellent. Oh, Paul, I'm glad to see you're having a little cheeky frothy one. Cheers, chin chin. Now I should point out, don't drink too much because obviously we've got there is the rugby tomorrow. Hopefully, unless there's been more of the horrible coronavirus doing the rounds, because I know that the game was postponed today, wasn't it? It was delayed or at least postponed. Anyhow, yeah. So that's just me chatting to my father-in-law live on YouTube about the rugby. So yeah, I'm gonna do you. So I'm gonna start with a poem that I should have read you last month. If you were watching last month, you'll know that I started reading a poem and hadn't typed it all out because I'm very organised and together. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read that to you. It's really written about my it's my group of friends really, and we don't, on paper we don't really have a lot of common interests, and we sort of all became very close friends when we were at the when we started going to pubs. And like a lot of people, our first trips to pubs weren't very successful. So what I'd like to do is to read you this wee poem. It's called Rite of Passage, and I'm aiming to get right the way through to the end of it, finding out that, do you know what? I'm so paranoid. I'm just gonna check. Oh yeah, no, it's all there. It's all fine. Okay, so this is called Rite of Passage, and it is with great love to my dear lovely friends, some of whom I think might be watching, or maybe if they're watching back. If you guys are watching back, then hey. Oh, if you're watching back, give me a little like, give me a high five on the old like button there, and if every time you press that like button, I'll get a chocolate. That's not true, but it would be nice. So this is Rite of Passage. The pub was straight out of a gritty crime drama, or the backdrop for an interview on Panorama about working class pastimes and humble pursuits. In walked 10 teens in identical suits, They step through the door with a chemical clout as kuros and insignia battle it out, nodding hello at the various punters and deaf to the chorus of unpleasant chunters. They set up base camp at an old cast iron table, feeling as suave as an in-prime Clark Gable. The group boasts one goatee and various glasses, a startling assortment of proto-moustaches. One has on a hat that now seems a mistake. They look like the cast of Guess Who at a wake. One goes to pot with a lad being barred for using as ID a Matalan card. Girding himself from a fallen comrade, unfazed, the next hero steps up unafraid and asks the poor barmaid for 10 pints of mild, an order that rang of a man, not a child. At the height of the power of the new Alcopop, when drinks became turquoise and tasted of gumdrops, the muttering barmaid belaboured the taps and broke a pint pot to a chorus of claps. In anticipation of the long night ahead, 2 of our team fought to swallow their dread and venture to the hallowed ground of the Ocky. They'd watched lots of Bullseye and were feeling cocky. Darts were soon flying with reckless abandon, and all seemed quite well until one of them lands on the paw of a dog whose owner seemed grumpy, perhaps the result of great swathes of old Scrumpy. Startled by the sudden ingress of cold steel, the hound jolts and bolts and refuses to heel. Bad news from the bar from attempt number 3. He had at least furnished himself with ID, but it indicates, thanks to the date of his birth, that our hero was 53, and to much mirth. From the hostelry's bar staff he was sent packing. Our team was still thirsty, the foaming ale lacking. From another dark corner a further rebuke. Calamity comes as from the box duke. There comes Eva Cassidy, crooning of pain and lost love and of barley. The mood quickly drops, all faces glum. Our group get the sense that they've outstayed their welcome. Smelling defeat, and with hearts filled with sorrow, they withdraw and resolve to try the village tomorrow. Thanks. Thanks so much. That's the village was a real pub, and we all used to go there when it was legal and safe for us to drink, and not before. That's what happened. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, that was the poem that I owed you last week from when I was watching when we were I couldn't find the piece of paper. Anyway, I found it and I typed it up, and that's just for you. So yeah. So on that note, cheers everyone. Little drinking. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. I miss pubs. I miss pubs so badly. I miss good pubs. I miss bad pubs. I can't even tell you. Anyway, this could just descend into me sort of crying and talking about pubs and why I want to go to one. I'm working on a poem about going back to the pub for next month. That'll be one to look out for next month. Oh, my mum's in the live chat saying hi, son, looking and sounding good. Ah, thanks, Mum. That was the dispassionate and chemical praise there of my mum, who only ever praises me when I deserve it, so it definitely counts. So yeah, So the two poems, the two other poems I'm going to do for you this month are both sonnets, and I'm not really. Oh, cheers, Mum and Dad. I'm desperately going to try for this not to turn into me just being an English teacher on YouTube, because that nobody needs to see that today. However, the two poems I'm going to do for you this week are both sonnets, and the reason I bring it up is just because if you read much poetry, or if you talk to people who read much poetry, there's sometimes a little bit of unsureness about forms and whether you should write in poetic forms, and some people think you should just write whatever you like and however it should be. Some people think there's an artistry to write into a particular rhythm and a meter, and I'm sort of in the middle of those two things. I quite like some poetry, like that previous poem. It had some form because there was some rhyme in there and there was a bit of rhythm to it, but it wasn't like in a particular like traditional form or traditional style. These next two are both sonnets, and I won't do my English teacher bit about how you know it's a sonnet, but you can Google it if you're not bothered. But basically, it's a 14-line poem, and it usually has 10 syllables in a line, arranged in 5 pairs of unstressed and stressed syllables. So now I've bored you all, and you're all leaving in droves. I'm going to read you one. They're usually about love. They're usually love poems. classically. But now that you can write a sonnet about whatever you want, really, and I like writing them. One, because they're quite self-contained and they're quite structured, and it means you have to really think about the ideas and where they all fit. And also, I like writing them because I quite like trying to say new things with an old voice. I think there's something nice about trying to take a poetic form from like the 1500s and saying something today about it or using it, and I think there's some value to doing that. I might be alone in that, I don't know, but I'm doing it anyway, and I don't care, because I can, and this is my channel. So the first one I'm going to read. If you watched me before, if you've come to see me, you might have seen this, and I have done this as a video before, but it was a really long time ago now. And this is like I've written this poem probably 3 times or 4 times over the last 6 years, and I keep going back to it, and I don't know if I've definitely finished it. And I don't know. My mum has just asked me if I cut my finger. I bashed my finger today. I was chopping some logs and I bashed my finger. I didn't cut it, but I bashed it. And it was a good old bash. So I put it, because I was working in the garden, I put some electrical tape around my plaster to stop my plaster coming off. So it's totally fine. It's all good. I'm fine. Don't worry. Emma was there, so there was a grown up watching, and Evan, but he didn't do any. We did do some chopping, but anyway, it was totally fine. Safety gear, blah blah blah, PPE. So anywho, yeah. So this poem is it's sort of about my grandparents. It's about my grandma and granddad, and it is a love poem. It's sort of, I suppose it is a sort of sad poem really, but it's really a love poem, and it's about I suppose it's about how love isn't necessarily what you think it might be when you start out, and you don't necessarily always know what's around the corner, and it just sort of feels kind of pertinent at the moment, I suppose. And also, I'm sort of thinking about, I'm always thinking about them a little bit, but I'm kind of thinking about them because I always think about them when weird stuff's happening, because I'm always intrigued as to what they would have made of it. I'm trying to imagine them in lockdown. I don't really know how well they would have done lockdown. I feel like they would have been, these people who are getting paid, they're getting fined like £10,000 for, accidentally going to like something. I just feel like that would have been them. Yeah, okay. Anyway, the title of the poem is "The Last Act of a Great Love," and it's for them. The clear in the throat's really important. You're not really. It's like tuning a guitar before you play a concert. If you're a guitarist, you're not really a guitarist unless you're tuning up. When you're tuning up, that's your most guitar-y. If you're doing like reading a poem, it's all about the throat clear at the start. Or if you've got good speakers on your telly, that would have been awful. I'm sorry. So anywho, the last act of a great love. Each day, he sits beside her like at home and makes sweet small talk for her of their past. He searches eyes he knows like they're his own, for signs they recognise things etched so fast. Now and then she stirs as if she's back, looks right at him and begins to grin. Before he can relax, they fade to black and drown him in her absence once again. At night, alone, his restless mind's eye burns with images that take him to the start, as all he's lost and losing still returns amongst the shattered shards that were his heart. He boils up with a rage he's buried deep and prays through bitter tears for dreamless sleep. Thanks very much. Not a giggle, that one. You know what I mean? It's not a toe tapper, but yeah. Anyway, I've probably written that five versions of that, and I still don't know if I've necessarily got it, but anyway, there you go. So yeah, a little sonnet, a little love poem, and then yeah. So what else have I been writing about? What else am I thinking about? I'm thinking about work a lot, about not just work as in the fact that we all seem to be heading towards you should have stuck to lockdown. Yeah, my mum's just said in the live chat, your grandma would have stuck to lockdown except for having her hair done. That's what would have happened. There would have been like an illicit, like these people running speakeasies where they're kind of running bars. My grandma would have been part of a ring of illicit hair care for more grown up ladies, and would have been instrumental in that. I think that's a very good point. Yeah. Anywho, yeah. There we go. So yeah. So I think about like work, not just my work, but work generally, and jobs and things. I'm not sure where you are, where you're watching this from. Where you're from might be different, but I'm from a very like a not very little, but a reasonably little pit town. There was a coal mine, and then they built a town, and then they got rid of the coal mine, and there's still a town, and the town is a bit like, oh, what do we do now? And was talking about it a lot, and we've started going for a lot of walks over the chase. We've been and around here, and we started going for walks upon. There's an old spoil tip near our house, and it's been there for a long time, but we started going for walks up there, and it's quite a nice hill. You can see for miles and stuff, and it feels a little bit like you're climbing a mountain, but obviously we don't need any equipment or training or skill. So we've started going up there for a lot of walks, and we're really loving it. We're loving the sort of going for adventures and that. We take the little and then go and have a little adventure and the thing, and so it just started me thinking about the past and about our sort of shared past and about trying to find what where you fit and what things mean. And in a weird way, that feels like that really means something at the moment, because we're all sort of finding our way back to what we think the world was like before we got started with this sort of lockdown business, and it sort of feels a bit like we're trying to find the answer to a question, and what do we go back to what we did before? Do we try and do new stuff? Am I supposed to have changed? There's a temptation, I think, to try and make this all mean something by being different at the other side, and then sometimes you don't feel that different, and then you feel guilty about not feeling different with other people seeing what they are. So I'm sort of just generally feeling and thinking a lot about the concept of being of having a kind of a sense of wondering where you go from here, if you like, and walking around the spoil heap. I started me thinking about that kind of past and trying to re-find how you define yourself and how you define. And living around here is strange, because we still sort of think that in lots of ways we still kind of think that the pit shut yesterday or last week, and it really didn't. But we still have that sense of, well, that we still do that, but we don't really do that, and it kind of the echo of that is sort of everywhere, but also not really talked about. And that's the same in lots of places where there were big industries and stuff. That's not specific to coal mining, but that just happens to be what's going on here, really. So this is brand new. I've not read this to anybody yet, so I'm just sharing it with you. So unless you really like it, in which case give it whack a like on there. That'd be great. But if you but anyway. So yeah, it's called The Wheel. And at the spoil heap, the old some of the old pit headgear wheels are there. They've been taken down, and they've been kept as a sort of not really a sculpture, but a sort of monument. And there's a pristine, beautiful one that's become part of a memorial, and that's lovely. But my favourite one is actually at the mound, and it's kind of dingy and a bit old, and it's kind of rusty and looks a bit decrepit, and that feels like a better landmark than I take nothing away from the beautiful, well kept memorial one, because that is beautiful in its own way. But for me, there's something more powerful about the kind of one that's round the corner, and there's like animals living in it, and it's got a sort of sense of its own romance, really. And so anyway, this is a little poem about and this is another sonnet. So this is another one of those about the wheel, and it is called the Wheel. And it goes after this fashion. The wheel stands motionless beside a mound that grew from decades worth of pit spoil drops. A ring of iron hammered to surround the spokes of oak stood proud like old pit props. Its strength no longer needed for the heft of coal and men from deep beneath the earth, it keeps its silent vigil, all that's left of our beloved pit town's beating heart. There was a time it rumbled night and day, a tireless workhorse with no thought of rest. Today the iron is pitted from decay, It is a perch for songbirds making nests. The wheels become a monument in white, whose cold serenity belies its might. Thanks very much. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. I'm gonna. Yeah. Uh, yeah. Yeah. I like that. That's a weird thing to say about your own poem, but I haven't really heard it out loud. I'm trying. I'm gonna make do a proper video of that one, and it'll be up on here when it's when I'm finished. About that, I'm trying a new thing where I'm doing, because obviously I was trying to do this every week and it was killing me. And I'm about to go properly back to work at school physically in a room with all sorts of children and things running around, which is bizarre. But yeah, so what I'm doing is I'm going to do this monthly. So this is February. My next one will be the end of March. But in the meantime, so 2 weeks after that, so it'll be like 2 weeks, then live, then 2 weeks, then I'll make a video. I'm going to do a poem and do a video. So I'm going to do slightly fewer videos, but I'm going to do more, hopefully better ones. That's the hopefully anyway. You'll have to let me know. And then at some point, I'm going to be able to go and do stuff live. I'm going to be not live on here. Well, still live on here, but I'm going to be able to go and do stuff live in pubs. So you'll be able to come and see me in a pub. Buy me a beer. You don't have to buy me a beer, but it's you're supposed to. Don't buy me a beer. Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna do one more poem, and then I'm gonna let you all carry on with the rest of your evening. I think. Because I've been here. It's been here a long time. Oh, I'll do this one. This is okay. This is nice. This isn't quite a sonnet, but it's close. And it's again, it's sort of about the chase, and it's sort of about. I'd really love to write poems about politics and about the current affairs, but we've got a child, and so all I do is go to parks and run about on the chase, really. So I haven't got any frame of reference to write about anything current or anything in the news. I don't really know what's going on. I know the big stuff, but I don't have. Anyway. I write a lot about running around in parks and planting trees and stuff. So stick around for more of that. Cheers. That's good telly, isn't it? It's me drinking, just me gulping a beer. Yeah. When going back to talking about my grandparents, when I was a kid, we spent most of our summers on the chase, either with my grandparents or with my grandparents and parents and cousins and aunties and uncles, and just running around, larking about and stuff. And we now go with my son places where my mum and dad and grandma and granddad took me. And it's sort of weird being in the same place you've been as a child and as an adult. Not weird, but there's just something. Every now and again, you stop and think of you being there at a previous time and like playing where you played as a kid, but as a grown up, and it's quite a powerful thing. So my final poem this month is about that, really. Oh, my mum's saying cheers. Look. Oh. Bless. She made all my school trousers. I said that last month as well. If you ever see her, two things you'll definitely know. She made my school trousers when I was a kid, and that's the main thing. Anyway, yeah. So this is my final one. It's called The Chase in Summer, because spring's coming, kids. The first butterfly flew past our patio door yesterday. It flew pretty quick because my son saw it and ran to the door and burst against the door and shouted a butterfly, and the butterfly was surprised, let's say like that, was surprised, and then beat a hasty retreat. Yeah. So this is so anyway, spring's coming and the weather's getting warmer, and it feels like maybe we're turning a corner, and that's a good thing. We're not out of the woods and things aren't back, but we're not all right, but we can see it from here, and that's the main thing. So this is again just about a walk and about those sort of things. So I'll do this one, and then we'll say to and you can carry on and get leathered, or not, or just have a milky tea and off to bed, whatever you want to do. Okay, so this is called The Chase in Summer. I stand among the oak trees that were ours, and think the breeze around me means you're here. A boy again, and whacking at the flowers with aching arms as Grandma blanched in fear. Although your voice is hard to bring to mind, I hear you in the whisper of the wind. You'd have loved today, so full of fun. Every step a jump in blazing sun. Ahead, a cackling pair I cannot see. A new dynamic duo out of view. My laughing wild heart boy sounds just like me. My dad like a colossus strides like you. We walk the paths until there are no more, then make our own where none have trod before. Thanks. Thanks very much. I say thanks very much at the end in anticipation that you're all sitting in your living room clapping, which is very me. That level of of ego. But there you go. What are you going to do? So we're sort of coming to the end of my time this month, and I've really had a ball, and it's been great, and I'm really grateful to you for coming. So the next one will be last Friday in March, which is bizarre because we'll be able to, we'll be able to give a takeout beer and whatever. Maybe we'll forget about this internet business and we'll just be running around beer gardens acting the goat. Who knows? But anyway, the next one will be on there, and in the meantime there'll be some videos coming on. So keep checking in. If you haven't already subscribed and you're watching this, if you're here for the first time ever, if you give me a little subscribe and if you click that little bell in the corner, that means when I put a new video on or when I go live, you get a notification straight away, and it means that my mum can stop harping on about it to people in the shop, because otherwise she chases people around Tesco's. That's not true. Well, she does. But I was going to tell you a story then, but I'm not sure I can. Yeah, no, I won't. Yeah, I won't. There's a good story about my mum, but I won't tell it because I'll get in trouble. And possibly she will as well. But yeah. Brilliant, yeah. Oh, yeah. So if you're in the Cannock-Lensford area and you hear a screeching sound tomorrow, it's because Wales have made a misstep at the rugby, and my beloved partner is just voicing her criticism of the way things are going. Similarly, if you hear a roar, that's usually because Wales have scored a try. That's usually how it goes down. So yeah. Anyway. I will see you next month, and I hope you're all safe and well. And if you're getting called in for your jabs, go and get your jab. And then the sooner you get jabbed, the sooner I can get to the pub. That's the way to think about it. So you're not doing it for you, you're doing it for me and everybody else. And still stay safe. Keep washing your hands. Hope you've got enough bog roll and that. There'll be kids who'll never really. Yeah. Anyway, people are never going to understand that joke when we get older. But anyway, doesn't matter. So I'll see you next month, and thanks very much for coming back. And if you like I say, if you give us a like or give us a share or whatever, that'd be really lovely. And think about subscribing. But in the meantime, I'll see you next month. Cheers. Stay safe, everybody, and thanks for coming. Bye.